Hello and welcome. I'm so glad that you're here and have joined me. I am getting myself a cup of tea, so make sure that you get something hot to drink, something that you enjoy, a nice beverage as we talk a little bit about my fiber fun here at Sweet Mountain Crafts. Hi fiber friends. My name's Kashti and I'm so glad that you're here to see a little bit of what I do at Sweet Mountain Crafts. I love all kinds of fiber arts, and specifically today I'm going to be walking you through some of my current makes. So here you can see me doing a little bit of rigid heddle weaving. I have on the loom, this is my Ashford knitter's loom actually, and I have on the loom here some Ode from Just Yarn, which is an alpaca. That is my warp, excuse me. And then my weft is a Noro yarn, and they just looked so beautiful together that I couldn't resist getting these on the loom in order to start working up a scarf. When I'm working rigid heddle, I find that I have chosen lots of different fibers to get started with just to play around. I'm still new to rigid heddle weaving, so while I'm working with the fibers, I don't have any specific plan in mind. I'm just kind of playing and experimenting still at this point. I'm just doing a plain weave, so a tabby weave or plain weave, which just means that it's very simple over-under weave style, and you can see I still make little mistakes here and there, but I'm having fun figuring out how to weave on a rigid heddle. I fast forwarded here a little bit, and you can see this is where I am now at the end, getting ready to cut, and actually am cutting my scarf off the loom. Sorry, my camera angle there is not the best, so you don't see me actually cutting it, but you can see the results of cutting it. And I've left enough of a tail end there in order to twist a fringe for this scarf. So here you'll see me pulling it off the loom and getting a feel for what the finished scarf looks like. This fiber was so nice to work with. These yarns were just lovely. The alpaca is soft and smooth and just makes for a really nice touch and on this finished scarf. And the Noro yarn was great because it's a thick and thin, which helps to conceal any of my imperfections as a newer weaver. So I would highly recommend both of these for rigid heddle weaving. Next up, I had a lot of fun organizing my chest of drawers that I keep my yarn in, along with Texas Peach Knits with her Fluff Your Stash Mal. Here's some images just of where I organized. This is kind of my notions drawer with needles and stuff. And then here's a yarn drawer that was quite the mess and turned into my sock yarn drawer. So it was fun to get that straightened out. Hello! So I imagine that you guys have already figured out that I am changing things up a bit here, but just come on in and join me for a moment. I am sitting on the floor with my sewing cabinet behind me, and you can see some of my projects here. Some are here beside me. It's the last little bit of the sunlight for today, so I just wanted to capture some of that natural light. But I also have a ring light on here just because it'd be too dark otherwise. But there's beautiful light in this room right now, and I just wanted to sit here while it's just warm and cozy for a moment. Yeah, I haven't been on my podcast for some time because life has been so busy. And I decided that maybe it was time to change things up a little bit. My life is very full, as I've talked about on previous podcasts. And I feel like so many of the podcasts, when I finally get a chance to sit down and do them, I'm just flying through information as fast as possible. So rather than be that style of podcast, I think I'm going to kind of start transitioning into more of a vlog style. So instead of a true podcast where I go through all my current makes and discussing all the different yarns that I've received or purchased, maybe that I would spend more time just being a little more creative, a little more just enjoying this opportunity to spend some time with you guys. I love sharing with you. I love the connection with my online community. Some of you I know in person, some of you I've not yet met, but I hope to. But I just don't love the push that I'm feeling to get a podcast done. I know it's been some time, and I apologize for the length of time between the last podcast and this one. I did actually record a podcast and sat down to edit it, and I just had no steam. I was just wiped. And so inevitably that podcast sat on my phone for like over a week. And by the time I got back to it, it was already outdated. Like, it was end of summer and I was trying to talk about garden harvest and all that kind of stuff. And it just didn't seem fitting anymore because we were already into the fall. So unfortunately, that podcast just won't get put out at this point in time. But I did want to share with you guys still. So I hope that you find something here that you love. While I'm talking, I'm going to be working on finishing up. This is a Saturday Shrug by Caddy Jack's Knits. And the Saturday Shrug is a very popular pattern because it can be played up so many different ways very, very simply. And so my intention is to teach a class on this at my shop in January. So I'm trying to get some samples made, but I'm just on the very end of it. I'm just finishing up the tubular bind off at the top. I unfortunately didn't measure very well, so you can see I've run out of yarn in my little game of yarn chicken here, and I'm down to the last. These stitches that are on my double pointed needles here are the last of the stitches that need bound off, but I ran out of yarn. So the yarns that I'm using, this is Barocco Mercado. I actually have, this is the blue color that I used with it, and this is the green. And then I held it double with Barocco Artesia, and also with, this is Lanagato's Mohair Royal in this pretty color. So you can see all those colors show up in this shrug. And it's been fun to work on. But what I'm going to do right now is, as I'm visiting with you for a moment, I'm also going to continue working on my tubular bind off. So this is something that I honestly don't think I've done a tubular bind off before. So this was a good practice for me to try. I found that there was a great tutorial online by Roxanne Richardson, excuse me. And I really appreciated her tutorial on how to separate the knit stitches from the purl stitches to make it more obvious, because you're just grafting the stitches. So you're just grafting from the front to the back, meaning that it's kind of like doing a Kitchener stitch in order to do a tubular bind off. It's a sewn bind off, and it wasn't making sense in my brain until I saw her do it this way. And I liked it so much that that's the way that I've been doing it, and probably the way that I'll teach it. All right, I've already run into problems. We'll see how this goes from here. And the light is now starting to leave for sure, so I will have to see what I can accomplish. But anyway, I was saying, or I wanted to say that as I podcast, what I'm finding is that it kind of saps me of a certain amount of energy. And I think that a part of that is because it doesn't feel very creative to me. It feels more like I'm working on a school project. Like it's an assignment that I need to get done instead of a creative outlet, I guess. And I know that that's not necessarily the way that it has to be. So I'm finding myself feeling like I probably just need to reconsider what I'm doing, even like right now, reconsider what I'm doing, and just go about it in a little bit different manner. You'll be hearing me share more on the video as I have opportunity, and in the meantime, I hope you enjoy all that you see. See you soon. Now to weave in some ends. On to my next project. This is my twinkling granny squares made with opal minis, and I finally have enough of a pile of them that I thought it'd be fun to lay them out and to see what I have. I've sped this video up a little bit because I have a number of granny squares at this point, over 100, and I only work on this project as I have time, so it's kind of a side project for me, but I'm loving the pile of mini granny squares that I'm getting and just all the fun colors. It's an enjoyable project that I work on when I have interest or just need a quick little moment of crochet in my life. Of course, when I'm not busy with my own projects, I am very busy with Sweet Mountain Crafts and Wyoming Yarn and Fiber as well. So here is just a little bit of a booth setup at the Fremont Fiber Fest that happens in Riverton, Wyoming every fall. I have both Wyoming Yarn and Fiber first in this first section of my booth represented, and then as you come here around the corner you can see I have Sweet Mountain Crafts represented as well. In the dye studio, we've continued to have some changes. There was one remaining garage door in my shop, and it was time to get this out of there. So here you can see my husband hard at work, working to remove the springs so that we could take down the door, because on the other side of the door we have a block wall that was installed. I also took this opportunity to tidy up some of my cleaning supplies, and I got a couple new stainless steel tables. This has made dyeing so much easier and just made it so much more pleasant to work in this space. So fun to have these new changes, and I'm very thankful for this opportunity. Many of you are also aware that my son just recently got married, so I had to throw some photos in here. It was a beautiful wedding, and we're so excited to have this lovely couple now as an extension of our family. When I wasn't busy with wedding things, with family and preparations for wedding and being just a participant in the wedding, I also found time to sit and knit my regular downtime activity, and you can see here I'm working on a flax sweater. This was along with a sweater class that was being taught at my shop by another instructor, but I was using it as an opportunity to knit one myself so that I could be an assistant as needed for that class. These yarns here are, the Fiber Lily was the first yarn that you saw at the top of the sweater, or in this image at the bottom, but it will be the yoke of the sweater. And then the green yarn that I'm knitting with here happens to be a hand dye of my own, but it was just one of a kind, not a recipe that I recorded, so it's not one that will be available in my shop, but just some extra over-dyed yarn that was left over at the end of the day that I'm using. Here you can see me working with 2 balls of yarn because, as is good practice when working with hand-dyed yarns, it's good to alternate skeins so that you don't end up with a very severe color change going from one ball of yarn to another. So it does add a little bit of complication, but it's not too bad and it's well worth it in the end. We've had a long and beautiful fall, but in the end of October we did get our first snow with a little bit of flurry that you can see here, and it just was enough to just start to bring in that feel of cooler weather, which was fun. Here I'm starting another project. This is some punch needling. I opted to purchase an inexpensive print on canvas, and this is not technically good canvas for punching, but I wanted to dress it up a little bit with some yarn to use as decoration in my shop. So you can see here it's not the easiest thing to punch needle, but the finished project, as I'm getting closer to the end of it, is actually turning out really cute and just kind of a fun, inexpensive way to add a little bit of more yarn art to my shop. For anyone that hasn't tried punch needling, it is much like coloring with yarn. So it can be really fun because you can just go all different directions, you can use all different colors, and the punch needle that I happen to be using right here is a Knitter's Pride needle that comes with multiple different tips. So you can see near my finger there's a little knob, and that's where you can unscrew the tip, take out the needle that's in there, and change sizes. So this set actually comes with multiple different sizes and allows you to work with different sizes of yarns, everything from DMC floss all the way up to, this is probably a worsted weight yarn that I chose to work with right here. I have used a bulky weight with the thicker needle, the larger needle, but it's it just is dependent on how thick or heavy the yarn is that you're working with. So again, you can see the canvas I'm working on here is not the best. This was just a simple little fun idea that I had that I wanted to try out. And in the end, I think it turned out decent. So a fun project to work on. Lately, I've been wanting to get back to my sewing machine. It just feels like sewing season for me. So you can see I decided to start working on these Christmas hot pads. This is the Folded Star Trivet by Pattern Bee, and it is a fairly simple design. It does take lots of pieces and parts, but the pattern itself is not hard. It's a number of circles in different sizes, and you iron them out by into folds, like you fold them up special and then iron them and then lay them out and then sew over them. So in this video you're seeing me layer the circles that I've already pre-ironed and then just putting them all together and getting them ready to throw them through the sewing machine so that they'll be secured. For this past year, my daughter and I have been partaking in a fun craft swap with a number of ladies from our church, where every quarter we did an exchange, and there were 7 of us total, I suppose. So the way that it would work is that you'd make 6 items and exchange them with the other ladies, and then you'd get items back from each of them. And this happened to be what I chose to make for our most recent exchange, because I figured it was a good time of year to get some Christmassy things ready, and then they could have them for the holiday season. I am here making bias tape to go around the edges of the trivets, and I found that a number of years ago I learned how to make bias tape, and have found that it's really actually quite enjoyable to do, because you can take any patterned fabric. Here, obviously with just the red, I chose to do this just because I happen to have a lot of red fabric in stash, and I needed a red bias to go on the edges of my hot pads. But it can be really fun to do with a pattern fabric, to use like for baby items when you're making bird claws or bibs. You can find fun baby colored or brightly colored fabrics and then use those for that purpose. Or even making mug rugs, I've made bias tape that matches the fabric on the mug rug. It's just it's not that hard to do, and I found that I really enjoy doing it. For the last bit of knitting that I want to share with you on today's video, I'm working with 3 different sock weight yarns. So these are all fingering weight. Here you can see that's Barocco socks. This is a hand-dyed fingering weight yarn that I did, and a secondary hand-dyed yarn that I did. These were just in my stash and I needed to use them. I decided to knit up the Cozy Up Knits Fits the Whole Fam hat. Amy from Two Sisters in a Yarn talks about this hat all the time, and I've been wanting to make it for a while, so I finally took the time to dig out some yarns and get this hat made. It's actually such a fun knit and so straightforward and simple that I decided that this will be a class at my shop probably next month if I can get everything put together for it. And I love how taking those 3 different yarns transforms them when you put them together into a knit hat. Here's the second version that I did with a little more girly colors, and it's turning out so fun and cute. Now you can join me back in the dye studio. Here I've got my pans set up to work on dyeing a very popular kit that I've worked on this year, the Yellowstone Beanie Kit that goes along with Nancy Bates' Yellowstone Beanie from her Knitting the National Parks book. This is such a fun hat pattern to do. I'll show the hat here after just a little bit, but actually getting the dye job done for this hat has also been really fun. And I've sold many of these this year. I look forward to continuing to dye this and sell more as opportunity arises. Hey, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I've had a lot of fun putting together this vlog for you all. I really enjoyed this format and I hope you did too. Comment below, let me know what you think of it. Really quick before I sign off, I've got a couple things. First of all, I wanted to show I finished my Fits the Whole Fam hats. So I've got 2 of those done. I have another one already on the needles. I'll share that next time with you all. But yeah, these turned out super cute, didn't they? They're very fun. Also, for hanging out with me, I want to do a special giveaway. I just recently finished packaging up my Christmas cash kits, and those have headed out to anyone that put in a pre-order with me previously. but I do have one that I'd love to share with you all as a special thank you for hanging out with me, finding something on my videos, either past or present. So in the comments below, if you'd like to be entered in this giveaway, please leave a comment about one of your favorite wintertime activities, whether it's indoors or outdoors, whichever it may be. Thanks for hanging out with me again today. I hope to see you again soon and hope you're doing well wherever you are. And if you're in the States, happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.